Mr. Osher, can you please help us find the third witness? Welcome back.
Bismillah.
Mr. Chairman, can we proceed now? Thank you very much. Before the break, you had told us about what happened in 1998. You told us that a group called High Park that is affiliated with the APRC solicited funds from Tutifal, the wife of the former president Yaya Jammeh, for the construction of a fence around the mosque. And they approached the imam, who was Alaji Karamo Touray at that time. And the imam told them that they could go ahead with their plans, but gave them a condition that they should not build where he and his elders usually sit. However, when the imam traveled, they failed to adhere to that condition and decided to build there. So the imam gathered some people, including you, Mr. Bajerre, Mr. Sanneh, and the imam, to destroy those structures that were placed there. So I'll ask you a few follow-up questions just to clarify that issue. And my question will go to you, Mr. Sanneh. As at the time you were destroying those pillars, were the laborers that constructed it, were they around?
They were not around.
But go ahead, please.
But biringa akonga remove ngela bagasol betar ngalandid lakili.
After removing the pillars, we took all their equipment and put them at one place. And the instruction was the ones on the fence should be left in place.
Thank you very much. How about the group High Park? Were they around?
No, they were not present at that time.
Mr. Bajerre, can you recall at what time of the day the imam asked you to bring down these structures?
Bajerre Touray fo ifan hakilo sa mudano montro wati jumalem almamo ni nata ko ale aleta pour ale dinkira ngali pour ka boy.
It was around 2 p.m.
Was there any form of commotion when you were bringing down these pillars?
Fo nyo saba mulungo soro dal tema jela ban kabringal ben pilal boende kamba.
No, there was no commotion because we didn't find anybody at the site.
So you didn't find anybody at the site and you decided to bring down the pillars?
Yes. Because when they were erecting those pillars, The Imam Alhaji Karamo categorically told them, if you put anything here, I will remove it. He told them that because this is the mosque where I lead prayers. So if I have no respect here, then where I will have no respect anywhere else. He told us to remove the pillars. So they also decided to remove the pillars.
When the Imam came back and saw that they had erected these structures at a place where he asked them not to do so, can you tell us how he felt about that?
Well, he took it as a lack of respect, because he had already informed them not to erect anything that there. They decided to disregard his instructions and they decided to build pillars there. And there were people inside the town called Atodu.
People called Pasans.
Pasans and Sanneh. And Pasans and Sanneh was another person who reinforced the Imam's instruction to these people when they were doing it. That person called somebody and told him, go to these people and tell them this is the Imam's instruction that they shouldn't erect anything at this particular place. Karamo Banna was also passing by and found them at the same place. He also asked them, well, didn't you hear what the Imam told you, not to place or erect anything here? They disregarded that man's instructions also. Because just to utter those words was the reason why they were taken to prison.
Can you tell us what the positions of Karamo Banna and Ba Sansang were in the community? They
are among the eldest people of the village. Pasansang happens to be Brikama's leading elder who used to execute certain things inside the town. And Malam Banna also is a respected elder of the town.
Just clarification, is it Karamo Banna or Malang Banna?
It's Karamo Banna.
Thank you very much. Now I'll move to Mr. Touray.
Silambida Mr. Touray.
Mr. Touray, we've heard that this group called High Park were affiliated with the APRC.
Mr. Touray, nga moy janko nying kafo e kafme High Park ining APRC kafo nying patio nying yenyo sotole.
Can you please tell us about their leadership?
Foisa ila nyaton ko yala foisi kuma fo no ila nyaton ko yala ko ba.
Akany kuma fo la ko la.
Yes, I can say something.
High Park mo kafo le mi yalon ko ifana be Brikama sate kono je.
High Park is an association resident in Brikama there. They are all indigenous of Brikama. At that time, some of them were even highly older than us. Some of them can even be our fathers.
Say example influence means of Brikama kono.
I can give you an example, the influence they have in Brikama and how they stand in Brikama.
Follow the chairman of late Malang Aida Bojanti.
First of all, their chairman was the late Malang Aida Bojang.
And then the membership include many because the late Chief Dembo Kelenjam Bojang.
And their leadership included people like the late chief called Dembo Kelembojang.
And right now, from one influential alcalo be Brikama district konoje ka fae Lamin Mondo Jata.
And there is one also influential person who is an alkali of a district in Brikama called Lamin Mondo Jata.
And then I need a membership of Imol Siatale, bari Nino more than the minute alonko will it'll Faraman Satale Londale.
It is a large group, but these are the people who are very, very well known and influential in Brikama at that time.
And we told we are all affiliated with the former regime.
And they were all affiliated with the former APRC regime.
Thank you very much for that explanation. So after, my question will go to Mr. Sanneh. Just before that question, Bajerre told us that you, the Imam, and himself were the ones that brought down these structures. From your own recollection, were there other people involved in this act?
Khalifa.
Yes, except Malang Khalifa.
The
late Malang Khalifa.
So 4 of you were involved in bringing down the structure.
Yes.
So after you brought down the structure, can you tell us what happened?
After bringing down the structures, we prayed the 2 o'clock prayers. I went home.
Go ahead, please.
I left my home and went to our normal sitting place, the Grand Place, till around the 5 o'clock prayers. I came back to the mosque and prayed the 5 o'clock prayers there.
Everything is calm.
But everything was calm by them.
Then
after the 5 o'clock prayers, I went home. I was there till around the evening, the first evening prayer. I came and prayed the evening prayers. And afterwards,
the
Imam and others went out and sat down at the very place. Then I decided to continue prayers, nafila. After completing my prayers, I put my hand on the right hand side and I looked on the left hand side at the entrance of the mosque. I saw paramilitary officers standing there, plus one man called Keba Pate Bojang.
Then
that man pointed to me and told the paramilitary officers that this man is the man called Abdoulie Mati or Abdoulie Sanneh.
Then
the paramilitaries called me and told me to come to them. When I went out,
fully armed.
There were a lot of the paramilitary officers around and they were all fully armed. He told me to go and climb onto the truck. I climbed the truck. He told me to sit down and stretch my legs. That's how I sat down on board the truck. I was there. Then I saw them bringing in Ba Sansang. He is the yard owner for us. He was around 90 years old at that time. He came and sat down between my 2 legs. He asked me, Abdoulie, what is it? I said to him, I don't know. We were there. They also brought in Bakari Jata. He was also the yard owner for the Jata Kunda clan.
almost 85 years
He was almost 85 years old,
but atulo buke moy
but he was deaf
anya fana buke je bake
and he doesn't see clearly also.
ye wo ma ko wo fana donta moto kono
They helped him to climb on board the truck.
e ko wo fana e si basa nan sinkoto
They told him also to sit down between Basansang's legs.
mbe woto
They were there.
inala maran khalifa samana
Then they brought in Malang Khalifa.
e wo fana sen ni moto kono
They helped him to climb the truck.
e wo fana sindi ni monani njaw sinkoto
They also made him sit down between the legs of the fourth person.
mbe woto
We were there.
inata inara jerba intaraji
Later
Bajerre.
on, Bajerre also found us there.
Thank you very much. Since you've mentioned Bajerre's name,
barka bake tumala men ye Bajerre tuofo.
I would like Bajerre to tell us about how he was asked to go on board the truck.
Bela flaka Bajerre nyininka biring ate wato sida tama ya fate nyaadi le pour ayta ay bula moto nyinna moto bala.
I was praying nafila prayers inside the mosque. I saw Keba Pate and a police. He stood in front and pointed to me and told the policeman, this man praying is the person called Bajerre. I also went towards the entrance to meet them there. That's the time they informed me that let's go and we are going to board that truck. We went and I boarded the truck. We left there and drove to the gates of the police station. We were there and I saw the son of the imam called Bajerre. He went to the vehicle and they asked him, what are you finding around this vehicle? He told them that I am from traveling and I've just arrived. And I found out that my father has been brought here and he's on board this truck. Now I am here to ask him, what is the problem? The policeman asked him, is he your father? And the son replied that, yes, he is my father. They told him, okay, you are also going to board the truck. Yes. This is how we traveled from Brikama all the way to the Banjul police.
Thank you very much for that. Can you please tell us the manner in which the PIU officers approached you and tell us how it was?
For no nyala. Biring PIU memu paral de biring inata ye waling. Nya dila mi frate ma nya dila briko e bula moto bala. Ifrate ma nya nya dima ma nya dila.
I'll shift to you, Mr. Sanneh.
Silambida Mr. Sanneh ya mem Abdoulie Sanneh.
You mentioned a truck.
Ye moto ba ko mo fojang.
From your own recollection,
Ifangola londoro.
was it only one truck that came that day?
For wolungo nying moto kilinde moto ba kilinde nata je bang fo.
because Seattle
I think it was in the number of 2 trucks because the paras were there, they came, a lot of them came there.
Can you tell us about the attitude of the paramilitary officers when they came to the place?
Silam fo isa fo no nyim paral nying idaji ko nying e mun daji ka sifa nyaadi lel tande biri inada dingira nyi doje mun daji ka sifa nyaadi lel tande.
They're more threatened with their guns because well,
they threatened us with their guns. They even said nobody should come near us.
As at the time when they were arresting you people one by one, were there any other individuals around?
wato men ne bal mutaka men keda bal arrest kan killing fo mo ko ten soton dala men bal karanta wala jeba
marché father the tap.
The market was full, completely full.
Where did this incident take place? Can you please tell us?
nyin ko nyin keta mintole fo isi je
Akala jamu daraje lubato je.
It took place in just near the mosque there, in the yard in front of the mosque.
Thank you very much. Mr. Touray,
Mr. Touray,
can you please tell us if you know if your father was involved in this particular incident?
isa fo no nya fo ifama da bulata nyin ko nyin kono la ba
da bulata je.
Yes, he was part of it.
Please tell us about that.
fo nya bang ye ku fo nya ko ba
da bulata je jami wolo nyinti comme nga fonya min at the beginning biri kay ko after jami ngoni renovate lale ala fencing renovate lale.
Just as I said at the beginning, when they told him that they want to renovate the place and the fence of the mosque, well, that's how things started.
Then another foye ko mukasida min alkana je ma.
He told them that's a good idea, but this place where we used to sit, the elders where we all sit down, please don't put anything there. You can leave that place.
So what if I'm the bone of contention because at the kana jema it will go if I could manda mala by jema.
Well, that's the bone of contention because after instructing them not to erect any thing at that place where they used to sit, they agreed. They said they will not touch the place. But when they came to erect that, to walk on the place, they decided to erect pillars there exactly.
Did anything happen to your father as a result of that?
As a result of the arrest?
Yes, that was the result that resulted into his arrest.
As a result of bringing down the pillars, because Mr. Bajerre and Mr. Sanneh mentioned that after they told them not to erect the fence there, they did. Did anything happen to your father as a result of that?
Folung kuna take fama la lebang bring wokonyin keta wairi aya foen ikana fello wodinkirato ke balu kasijele itelnata na samasingulu loje ya pila lukije.
Kan fenkela kan ya arrest le?
Yes, he was arrested because of that.
Do you know how your father was arrested?
Sai yalo ne ya mutanyadile.
Ngalo ne kan?
Yes, I know.
Minketa biring paramilitary nata o fitri salikola ye ablaining jerebaning manan khalifa ni nyimodol arrest blani troko kono.
What happened after the first evening prayers? They came, when the paras came, they arrested Malang Khalifa and the others who were all arrested, plus Abdoulie and others, and put on board the truck.
I remember one police, senior police officer do bijako imam ko suratela police station do bulamodo kono imam ko amanda bulamodo kono.
I remember there was one senior police officer who informed my father, the imam, that we need you at the police station, so you have to board the truck. But my father resisted. He said no.
I remember the late Dabama Arena.
I can remember that the late Dabama Arena. He was there.
And then nim paramilitary officer, nim police dolmini alonko uniform telano imusi or intelligence officer or whatever.
Well, I remember that these paramilitary officer and the senior police officer, apart from them, there were other officers who were not in uniform. Maybe they are from the CID office or whatever. They were talking to the imam to convince him to board the truck, but he still refused to board the truck.
I remember grab him.
I remember it was Marena who was telling them if he doesn't want to go, grab him by force.
But woman na grab ya convince for a blandi small vehicle kono.
They didn't force him. They were able to talk to him to convince him to board another vehicle, a smaller vehicle.
Then ya samba police station auto.
Then he was taken to the police station.
Then police station into another atandela jele ko is on the arrest ya blandi truck kono je. Then
after arriving at the police station, that's where they told him that you are under arrest. And they decided to put him on board the truck.
Then another on the floor of the truck like these other prisoners.
And they also made him to sit down on the floor of the truck just like how the others were made to sit down.
Can you tell us how old your father was at that time?
Isa fono nye ifama abe ala kebaya be tembela nyadi la watola.
Time I was 75 years.
He was 75 years old at that time.
You mentioned one Daba Marina.
Ye mo to fanya wikafume daba marena.
Can you tell us who he was and the position he occupied at
Isa
that
fono
time?
nye tele mujumati no watola palasle babulu.
What time he was the head of the plain clothes at State House.
At that time, he was head of the plainclothes officers at State House.
Yes, because we didn't arrest another in my face.
Because I think that was it. Because even after my own arrest, he came and talked to me directly in front of me.
Coming out from I was an NIA officer. I told him to train, and then I used to work with him.
Just as I said before, I was an NIA officer, and he was one of the people who trained us.
Police station, you ought to know better.
He told me at the police station that you ought to know better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sanneh,
Mr. Sanneh,
did you recognize any of the officers that came to arrest you on that day?
nyum police ol men natane kay arrest. Fo mo so na jela yemen soute ba.
No, I don't recognize anybody amongst them. I don't know them.
How about you, Mr. Bajerre?
Mr. Bajerre dum ite fanan dum fo mo so na jela yemen soute kono ba.
I don't recognize anyone among them because it was getting dark. It was around the early hours of the night.
Thank you very much. Mr. Touray?
Mr. Touray?
When your father was being arrested, were you at the mosque at that time?
Yes, I was there.
So you saw everything that happened?
Yes, I saw everything.
You told us that you were also arrested? Were you arrested at the mosque?
No, I was not arrested at the mosque.
Can you tell us about how you were arrested?
I was arrested in our compound.
I can say around midnight.
Around midnight.
Because BDM farmer will arrest no Samba.
Because after they arrested my father and took them away,
some
paramilitary stayed around the mosque.
And then crowds will not gather.
Then a crowd came and gathered in our compound.
So most so much you don't even know Jumal and Jumati.
The people were so much in the compound there that you don't know who is who.
Then all of a sudden, paramilitary pickup truck full of
all of a sudden, we saw 2 trucks full with paramilitary officers who came around there. They came and said that they are looking for me.
Somebody among the crowd willing to
If I remember properly, there was somebody among the crowd who shouted my name and said, Usainu, you are the person they are looking for.
So, forefront or motor light toje.
That's how I came out from the crowd and went, because their lights, the vehicle lights were on, so then I came to the front side of their vehicles.
Then he arrest police station.
And that's the time they informed me that you are under arrest. We are going to take you to the police station. That's how they took me to the police station.
Mr. Sanneh?
Mr. Sanneh?
After they put you on board this truck, can you tell us where you were taken?
Yes. Yes, Ambami. After they left Brikama, they were running at a high speed until we arrived at the Banjul police station. When we arrived at the Banjul police station,
police ol tara farinje fananto.
we found the place full of police officers.
Yemudawol nyame yembula selo kono.
That's how we were all put into cells.
Ala nga sabo fon sal selo banyun sel se kono.
Well, we even prayed the last prayers, the last evening prayers inside the cells.
Be woloto.
That's where we were.
4, 2, 3 ma found in the morning.
2 to 3 in the morning.
Yembondi je.
They took us out.
Yensamba central prisons.
They took us to the central prisons.
Ani Usenu.
This Usenu.
Ani Wajwara.
Plus Wajuara.
Ngawol tarawolto.
That's where we found them.
So yentawole nyama.
That's how they took us.
Yena belongings all beta.
They took all our belongings from us.
Yedabaele.
They opened the main gate.
Yensamba confinement 4.
They took us to confinement 4.
So Birindunda Sero Kono.
When we were put inside the cells,
Sero Benila Bungolom, Akamo Clineta.
All the cells there, there are separate rooms and each cell takes only one person.
Yendodundi Sero Do Kono.
I was put in a cell,
but
before reaching inside,
there
were planks inside the cell where people used to sleep on. Those planks were all removed. And every place was dusty. And every place was infested with spiders and spider webs.
So
that's where we were all put into, but they had already removed all the planks inside those cells where the inmates used to sleep on.
So we
all slept on the bare ground that day. For the good 22 days, we were lying down on the bare floor.
You can go ahead, please.
Well, the concrete inside that place was even removed from the place. If you are lying down, you have to lie down on bare stones. If you lie on your back, that's how you will remain till daybreak because you cannot turn around. That's where you have the chamber pots. That's where you have the chamber where to ease yourself. And there were cups which we use to perform ablution or to drink with.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanneh.
Mr. Sanneh.
I'll go to Mr. Bajerre.
Mr. Bajerre.
When you arrived at the police station in Banjul, were you told the reason for your arrest?
No, we were not given any information.
Were you charged with any offense?
No, they didn't tell us that either.
Were you given any form of explanation as to why you were there?
They said we pulled down a part of the mosque.
And can you tell us who was telling you this?
The people who were sent to come and take our statements.
Can you please tell us how your statements were obtained?
They came and asked us.
What kind of questions were they asking you?
They said we decided to pull down the mosque.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajerre. I'll move to you, Mr. Sanneh.
Silambita Abdoulie Sanneh, Mr. Abdoulie Sanneh.
Mr. Bajerre just told us that they did obtain a statement from you when you arrived at the police station.
Mr. Abdoulie Sanneh, Bajerre ya fumole jan santenko ko kabring alfura da police station ro yalla kuma kamota memu statement ro safero ro.
Can you recall the mode of questioning at that place?
Ko ifana hakilo sa mutano jedo jo dingira nyindo je police station ro je nyinin kar sifa nyaadi li kal nyinin ka menna.
No, anyinatare police station wolman kuma lo fonye.
He forgot the police station. They didn't tell us anywhere there, anything there.
Bilim futale embula selo kono 2 o'clock le embondi je ensamba prisons.
When we arrived, we were put in cells. Around 2 a.m., we were removed from the cells and they took us to the prison.
Yena statement ota atondi prison.
They took our statements inside the prison.
At that point, when you were at the police station,
Otambola bring albenum police station ro.
were you charged with any offense?
Foi tumiro so da bemba yemel lal kambang ka fo ko ale nyinni nyine ke wo kamala ngal tumi nyine la ngin tumiro lal kan.
No, can do the cell wrong.
No, they just put us inside the cells and became quiet.
And when you arrived at Mile 2 prisons,
Bring alfura da mile 2 kasoro.
what procedures were followed before they put you inside the cells?
Munta mandir sila nyaadi lelta janni bal bulandi la selo nyin kono.
Bilen samba Mile 2.
When we were taken to Mile 2,
Usain ning wajuara taraji.
we found Usainu and Wajwara there,
Aning police kunti jama.
plus a lot of police top officers.
Inara nyimfonye na belongings will be bondi.
That's the time they told us to remove all our belongings,
Ila belto,
your belt,
ila montoro,
watch,
ila nafo,
your hat,
ila konna.
even the rings on their fingers.
Biling obe bondi.
We took all those things out.
Imagine the whole nyama straight
That's how we were made to march straight
to confinement 4.
to confinement 4.
The police heads that you're talking about,
Ben police ke ba ma mel na kumo fo kan.
can you recall their names, the one that you met at Mile 2 prison?
Ko isi tol fono le bang yemenu tarandi mile 2 kaso bungo.
Yense me remember no ken womo David Colletti. Ani Yaya Jaji kafa kif.
Yaya Jaju chief.
The police head of the police officers that I can remember, one of them is David Colley.
David Colley and Yaya Jaju. Yaya Jaju ikafa munane kafa chief.
Sorry, Mr. Interpreter, you allow me to ask the questions. Thank you.
Because he called him chief when he was the chief, or that's what I wanted to clarify.
Thank you very much. I'll clarify that. Mr. Sanneh?
Mr. Sanneh?
David Colley and Yaya Jaju, whom you refer to as chief.
David Colley Yaya Jaju yemen tom di men ka fa chief.
Can you recall which security outlet they belong to?
Police hakilo sa mutano e boda tanko bunda fanna jumaldo.
Prison department.
They are from the prison department.
Thank you very much.
Kabake.
And do you know why Yaya Jaju was referred to as chief?
For isa lonno le muna ya sabu o Yaya Jaju muna na ikato do fa ka fa chief.
Na stage jama nyim police nyim security guards ka kuman keep Jajulla.
Well, during our stay there, the other security people used to call him Chief Jaju.
Thank you very much. I'll now move to Mr. Touray.
Silambita Mr. Touray.
Mr. Touray, we've heard that around 3 a.m., 2 to 3 a.m.
Nyin kala muta janko montro wado membita fo talamfula kata talansa ba makan suto.
Mr. Sanneh's group met you at Mile 2.
Mr. Sanneh na kafo moli al tarandi Mile 2.
Can you please tell us, after your arrest, how you got to Mile 2?
Yes, I can narrate it.
When police station.
When I was arrested, I was taken to the Brikama police station.
The moment stepped to police station,
that night when I arrived there, the moment I stepped into the police station,
there was one police officer, Famara Jallo.
There was a police officer called Famara Jallo.
He is the station, I told him the head of the station or something, but he didn't have to Pia William Nabul from Revendu Kanje, Natel Taraji, Bira Futra, Konyeko, Altulia Menafo, Altuletamo Brikamate.
When I arrived there, so he was the guy, he was either the SO or anyway, he is one of the leaders there. The moment I arrived there, the PIU officers got hold of my hands. Then that was the time he said, you people think that you are the owners of Brikama.
So according to behind the counter, punish.
He told them to take me behind the counter and punish me.
Instruction follow, let me do monkey dance.
The instruction he gave was, first of all, let me do monkey dance.
Then now monkey dance, I don't know how many times.
I did that monkey dance, I don't know how many times.
I don't know monkey dance, pass out of mark anymore.
I did the monkey dance until I passed out, and I cannot do it anymore.
Then luckily for me, there was one paramilitary officer, to remember, but
there was one paramilitary officer, I cannot remember his name, but his surname is Jalo.
I'm a student at Alpha Khan School.
He was my student at Alpha Khan School. He took pity on me and got hold of me.
Mr. Touray, sembembala.
He told me, Mr. Touray, you can lean on me.
So I am nyama. Then all of a sudden, Famara Dundana I enter a situation.
That he held me like that. All of a sudden, Famara came in and found us. He asked them what has happened.
One of them
One of them told him that he's tired. He cannot do the monkey dance anymore. He falls
they don't
down.
have to help me.
He told them not to help me. I should do the monkey dance.
So I just
Then that's how I started the monkey dance again.
So this was between arrest to time for this time. But in BJ time.
This was after my arrest. I cannot say the time exactly, but I was there.
Because when saying crowds will be bandale, police station on yatling baby fari mole, la mano can be crowded in any side.
Because up to that moment, there were a lot of people, a crowd gathered outside the police station. Up to the main road, people were standing everywhere.
And then at the farmer man stay in the station because I banta fana coordinate kanne.
Because this farmer was unable to stay inside the station because he was coordinating things outside the police station also.
Then
I was there, then later on I saw them bring in Lamin Wa Juara. He was even barefooted.
You can tell about it's like around 1 a.m. or something.
You can tell that he was sleeping and they woke him from his sleep and brought him in around 1 a.m.
Paramilitary officers and some men minimal uniform.
Military officers plus some men who were not in uniform.
Push, slap.
He was brought in and they beat him and he was gun-butted in my presence and they were kicking him. That was the time they weighed me. I was sitting on a bench, then he saw me. He asked me, younger brother, what has happened? I told him that my father was arrested. And I was also arrested. He asked me, who is your which father? I told him it's Imam Karamu.
Surprised.
He was surprised.
He
asked me when. I told him today.
So jele
that's the time when Famara entered in again and said we should separate from each other.
You've told us that they made you monkey dance for a long time.
Yeah, for janke monkey dance ke andu monkey dance onye menke.
Can you tell us for how long you were made to do this monkey dance?
For isa for no nye monkey dance onye I want to get si baka.
And but from pass out.
Well, I cannot exactly give a time span, but I did it until I passed out.
And can you please describe what this monkey dance is?
So, monkey dance.
Well, it's a common form of punishment what happened at school.
Well, this is a common form of punishment when we were going to school.
You put your hands across your face like this.
You put your hands across your face and get hold of your 2 ears.
And then you can squat in repeated motions.
You squat down and get up in repeated motions.
Thank you very much. After they separated you and Who was Wajuara, please?
Jumala mi
Let us
Wajuara
know.
de.
Lamin Wajuara, he was a famous politician.
Lamin Wajuara was a famous politician.
And then I stayed in Brikama.
And he's staying in Brikama.
At that time, I remember he was, I think, the deputy party leader of the United Democratic Party.
I think around that time, if I can remember properly, he was the deputy leader of the UDP.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Barakabake.
As far as you can tell,
Comme ni te sa fono.
was there any connection between Lamin Wajuara's arrest and your arrest?
Wa Lamin Wajuara la muto, anite la muto. Fo e nyo soto le ba.
Well, there is no connection between them.
You told us that he didn't know you until you introduced yourself to him.
Ya fo janko ko ay londe fo kabra nara ye fa itandala ko ay telam jumati.
When you told him about your father's arrest and the others, how did he react?
Birin yete ye ifama la muto ani mo kotengol la muto faye. O ketate fe nyaadi la mum manya la itandi.
Ay jahalol tandi. Biringa faye bira dunda inje sira ko ndoke mine keda.
Well, when he came in, he was puzzled when he saw me there. He asked me, what has happened?
So nara faye ko yem fama arrest.
That's the time I told him that my father has been arrested.
The father right now young arrest le.
And me also right now, I am under arrest.
So I need to jail to jumale mi fama.
That's the time when he asked me, who is your father?
Then bring up I surprise face it and
When I told him who my father is, he was surprised. He showed me a surprised face.
then I need to okera mundu wanenka ko kabirin fitri saliwato.
He asked me, when did that happen? I told him this was around the early evening prayer time.
When you were at the station,
Birin wato menebe police station oro.
were you charged with any offense?
Fo e tumirle kande banka fo e nyine ke wala asabu.
Ani man 2 min lankang.
No, I was not charged with anything.
Do you know if Lamin Wajuara was charged with any offense at the station?
Fo yalo ne fana fo Lamin Wajuara fo e fana e tumirla kande bam.
Ani man 2 min lakanje.
No, he was not charged at that place.
Can you tell us from the station where you were taken?
Sa fo no nyakabo police station oro yal samba mintole.
From the station yen some mile 2 but janinkata mile 2.
From the station, we went to mile 2. But before going to mile 2,
Nyinata statement min submit nyinata one person laje.
the statement I submitted here, I forgot one portion there.
Janinkata mile 2 yente samba kote ken na suo kono le.
Before going to mile 2, they took me back to my home.
Yen na bongo sat.
They searched my house.
Itaram fama fana la bongro.
They went to my father's house.
But atarate because we are arrest ala chabo babu leno.
But they found that when he was arrested, he was having his key.
Yala bedroom bunda break eje fana search.
They broke into his bedroom, and searched the place.
And then the will be turned upside down.
Everything was turned upside down.
I remember one old gun talaje molka ko me cartuso.
I remember they found one old gun there.
Ye wo samanyola yendeni wo samanyola station oro.
They took me back to the station with that gun.
Do you know what they were looking for?
Fo yalo ndama be mun izarta kamuna nyini nu.
Malo ka menyini de bari ngalo ne after inata la ika try pour ka charge for having a gun or weapon. But inata je ko kidolo mi alon ka aka license no jole or something then yalo drop bari ngalo ne ko biringa danon kidolo e wo mention ajele one time ko kido fana muri la bon kono.
Well, I don't know what they were looking for. But after they found that gun there, they decided to take it as a problem. But later on, they discovered that he had a license for that gun. He has paid a license for that gun. So later on, they dropped that charge. But during the trial, during the case, they also mentioned the affair, the case of the gun there.
So after searching your house and not finding anything except that gun you're telling us?
Birin yela bungo nyi wiste man fentaraje na manke o kido nyindo kome ya fo nyame.
Where did they take you?
Ye samba mintole.
Yem fundi ni from police station ko yem bulandi 7 passengers seat moto kono then Lamin Wajuara.
Then after all that, we went to the police station and we were taken out of the police station again. And we were put on board 17 passenger vehicle.
Moto kono paramilitary fly in the sandwich, paramilitary fly Lamin Wajuara sandwich.
On board that vehicle, 2 paramilitary officers sandwiched me between them. The same thing applies to Wajuara. 2 paramilitary officers sandwiched him inside the vehicle there.
Jetole janinka bula moto kono jetole delayed dama mare dan kamin fo in my face akonyego Alfusainy, you ought to know better.
As I said before, that was the place where the late Daba Marina came and stood in front of me and told me that Alfusainy, you should know better.
Do you know what he meant by Alfusainy, you ought to know better?
Yo kotolo ne banka fo ko Alfusainy ite nyanna ite la londo nyana tamila nyinnale.
Wolom nyinti do ka fo nyele ko komi like atende ndena security do ko kanu nyola le ndanyanta lon nale minom nyinti coming crime wala arrest nyanta ka wala minin lon as a security officer.
Well, I think what he meant by that was that as far as I had worked with him before in the security section, I think he meant that I should know that this is a security matter because I was under arrest at that time. So I think that was what he was referring to.
As far as you were concerned at that time, did you think that you committed any crime at that point?
Ani?
No.
So when they put you in that passenger vehicle, what happened?
Ye kumoteni banjul mafa wala moto e borikam at a very, very high speed.
Then that's the time we headed towards Banjul and the vehicle was running at a very high speed.
Slogan, this was maybe around 2:30 or after 2 o'clock.
This was around 2 to 2:30. In fact, we don't meet with any other vehicles on the road.
And then the boy driving the vehicle, I happen to know him.
And when we were going, the boy driving that vehicle is somebody whom I knew.
His name is Panjagamendi.
His name is Pa Njagamendi.
At the time, he was a senior NIA operative too.
At that time, he was also a senior NIA operative.
So Wonyamalen drive all the way for maybe 100 or 200 meters before Denton Bridge.
That's how we went. We drove until 100 or 200 meters before the Denton Bridge. We saw people suddenly come out of the darkness and they flagged down the vehicle.
So Panjaga was speeding so much, like instantly, bidia flag Praelo, Amalono instantly because I no speed can.
Panjaga was driving at such a high speed that after these people came out of darkness and flagged the vehicle to stop, he was unable to stop instantly at that instant spot.
But the other manager speaker and then he screamed ko Baba Job kona futara janga elo.
Then he managed to stop the vehicle and screamed that Baba Job said when he comes to this place he should stop.
I offer in Wolof language. Baba Job munisuma age fi matahau.
He said it in the Wolof language saying that Baba Job said when I arrive at this point I should stop.
So Wonyamala lota ngamolje ka boring lang maybe 20 or 25 meters alone here flag them in tema.
That's the time we saw people running, coming towards the vehicle about 20 to 25 meters from the spot where they flagged him down.
So when
they reached our vehicle, they opened the door. They pulled down Wajuara forcefully out of the vehicle. They pushed him down on the tarmac. They started beating him there.
So Jeto Yalipale very seriously.
Then he was seriously beaten down there.
More than 15 minutes.
For more than 15 minutes.
But I believe is a metal cable.
I don't know what they were using to beat him, but it appears that it was a metal cable.
Because
Because when they were beating him and he was lying on tarmac, when that object touches the tarmac, it sparks. There were sparks coming out from it.
Ya lipajele kenlega fangole fola ba bika diamu anymore.
The beating they are so serious that he was
At the beginning I foile ko alimbula ngamine kala, but the beating went on so much so that I bika diamu anymore.
At the beginning, he used to say, "What have I done to you people? You are beating me for what?" But towards the end, he was even unable to talk anymore.
Then ya lipawole nyama for paramilitary membeng escort kang.
That's how he was beaten up to the point that the paramilitary.
There was one among them, I remember.
One was among them, as he can remember.
He was in mufti.
He was not on duty because he was wearing mufti.
Yeah, I remember being a Brikama station, I call a colleague so ride la Puruka in Baraksoto.
I remember when we were leaving Brikama, he begged a lift from his other colleagues and told them to drop him somewhere on the road.
Yeah, I remember now, being put at a Canifim barracks store.
So I remember when we arrived at the Canifim barracks.
Panjaga Kwaeko, Mdelola down for young assignment and Delola no young from Ankara.
That's the time when Pajaga told him that I cannot stop anywhere unless where they told me to stop.
Then nothing other can more than me along, I can say at Wajuara safe.
I can say that he saved Wajuara that
because I have father in paramilitary monole ko altole ni arrest now or altole ta from Brikama police albe sambaka nin ku ketela silo kanjang, they are under your custody.
He told them that you people removed these people from the Brikama police station. Now you are treating this man like this. If something happens to him, you people will be responsible.
But those paramilitary officers ni baba approach pura yeliparo stop. Abike dan one day they are not touching him.
Well, those paramilitary officers, if they approach Baba Job for them to stop the beating, he doesn't even listen to them. He doesn't answer them.
Then what happened later was Panjaga na wakil ranin Baba komala grab nyola.
Panjaga was the person who saved the situation. He went behind Baba and grabbed both of his hands.
Then you know that the beating stopped.
That's the time when the others stopped the beating.
But among the beatings, fana beating blood of fana amoy kamodo to foje like modu pika jallo.
And those who were doing the beating, there was somebody also whose name was called there. His name happens to be Modu Pika Jallo.
O time of beating Panjaga Baba Muda, o time ole Baba ko ala kayandale.
After Panjaga grabbed Baba's hands, that was the time when Baba told that Modu Pika Jallo to stop the beating.
Who was this Baba you're referring to?
Baba
Baba Job sa father, but he was also a known politician. Regime Tambila Janaka fa and then ngamena closeness to Jamme and his regime wanke security gamme kono jam.
The same Baba Job who was an operative of the APRC and he was very close to Yaya Jammeh, and he became famous in the country because a lot of people knew his connection to Yaya Jammeh.
And was Baba Job affiliated with any security outlet?
O Baba Job, fo tanko bunda mola na tanko bunda mola karola. Fo tanko bunda dulale be jemi alon ko ani nyosoro le ba.
Ani amanke security do gulari bari biring Panjaga fo mo do na ko Baba ka ele ko ni futata jaay lo be lamin waju wala titla lesino la tanyina minna.
Well, because Baba was not part of any security outfit at that time. But he even informed Njaga that when you arrive at a certain spot, you have to stop down where I will teach Wajuara a lesson.
The people that were involved in this beating, do you know if they were security officers or private citizens?
Fo yala na fo tanko bunda mol la mol lembam fo bankudin kensan wal bankudin wal ronne mudi ba
nte o fola no de wo mo fola do nte o fola no de because ima uniform dum fana bari ngalo ni ko Baba ni mod pika ni mo fola le bije mine woli paroke so bari ima uniform dum son ta fola no for security lo midi or not.
Well, I cannot say whether they were security because Baba and Modu Pika, I know that they were not part of the security units. But these two people plus another two people who did the beating, I don't know those people.
Thank you very much. And from the narration given by Mr. Sanneh and Mr. Touray, they stated that they met you at Mile 2 prison.
Ya fo janko ye tara Mile 2 prison kaso bungol do.
From that incident, you were taken straight to Mile 2 prisons, correct?
Brio ko borala don ye samba Mile 2 direct fo ko nyala.
Do you know if after the beating, Baba Job sustained any injuries?
Fay la londoro fay sa londo le ba biri ni libaro bodala ka ke Baba Job ka anana barmol soto le ba. Wajuara.
My apologies, I'm getting mixed up here. Wajuara.
Oh yeah, Wajuara. Niaje the following morning.
If you see Wajuara the following morning after the beating,
he was a piece of meat.
you will think that he was just a piece of meat. Because his shirt was so stained with blood that it sticks to his body.
And then alanya middle finger break tala. Janin fanoga ke woji tala over swollen telefang.
And his middle finger was broken. Before they break, that broken middle finger was so swollen that you can see it, anybody can see it.
And then also by around 9 o'clock.
In that morning, around 9 o'clock,
the prison officer
the prison officers brought Wajuara another trouser and shirt. They changed his shirt and he wore the shirt and the trouser that were brought for him.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bajerre.
Mr. Bajerre,
Mr. Sanneh told us that when you arrived at Mile 2,
Mr. Sanneh
that they had removed the plank that was used as a bed. And you were made to lie down on the bare floor. Can you please tell us about the other hardships that you had gone through while in detention?
Yes, it is true that they removed all those planks from the cells. And the place was so dirty that you find it difficult to sit down. You will find it difficult to lie down or sit down. I squatted at one place. That's where I slept till daybreak.
Were you given any food the night you arrived at Mile 2?
No, they didn't give us anything.
Mr. Sanneh?
Mr. Sanneh?
Apart from taking the planks from the bed, did they provide you with any beddings?
No.
How about blankets?
They didn't give us anything like that.
Thank you. Mr. Touray?
Mr. Touray?
How did the elders and all of you cope in that condition with no blanket, no beddings, and you were made to sleep on the bare floor? How did you cope in that condition?
Mr. Touray, itero anin kebal alfal na mialan ko yeni itolul be samba nyola o kasibungoto je larante je albela la menkan ye murlan imam murlan dial albe mem murlan menna o ketal tol fe nyaadi ali o ko nyinta no nyaadi le katara o feji katara o alhalo nyama je dingirani to je
wala yo kele on popo tata je wala nyama de bari there was a time what sort of je personal
I think they did that on purpose, because there was a time the prisoners, the inmates there,
because we can't allow a fundi selo kono only in the morning either chamber pot empty yemurulan selo kono.
They don't even allow us to go out of the cells. It was only in the morning that they leave you to go and empty your chamber pot and come back into the cell.
Okay, prisoners will mean some of these ex-soldiers and dolmi involved in that Farafenye army attack.
The inmates we found there, some were soldiers, others were other inmates who were involved in the attack at the Farafenye barracks.
Wolle biji and I remember there were 2 or 3 soldiers miniko you will accused of a mole fan tourism development area or time obang.
Well, there were also 3 people who said they were ex-soldiers, but they said they were involved in killing tourists around the tourism area.
So well not a plan ke ning fidro sita ning prison police only change of duties ke mini jogo ke soman na for all jida ulara tal na take over ke.
Well, they decided to make a plan. When the afternoon duty officers leave the place and a change of duty was effected,
Igela mbajol collect the cell next to undela cello. The mbajol collect kana ka mabo prisoner la cello konoje.
They used to collect the blankets from the other cells and come and keep it in a cell which was near my cell.
No, if you got blanket or collect from other cell, it will form a blanket or it will like a sacrifice. You get a blanket or tie can like a landi cello me dollar cello because in dollar cello in a way in dollar cello like in cello me going to no kind of like this.
Okay, they don't collect blankets, but they take their own blankets and come up because our cells were one after the other. So they bring these blankets to the cells that we were made to stay in.
So when a change of handover already, then nip cells run because after 7 o'clock, it cells run, nobody come out again.
So after that change of duty, as usual, they used to lock the cells so that nobody will come out again.
So ye blanket all came in a cello kono woka abulo fundine from the wire wire me make cello bunaro a blanket tie fling over thing. Well,
The man in that cell, because there was wires which were in the cell there, he used to put his hand through those wires and fly and send and throw the blankets outside.
So now a blanket clean finding then pass to the next prisoner. Pass Abdoulie because I remember Abdoulie la cello bendebala.
When he throws out that blanket, I will take it and pass it to Abdoulie, whose cell was next to me.
Then Abdoulie blanket soto, the next person for a blanket soto.
Then that's how Abdoulie will get a blanket, and the next person to him will also get a blanket.
Then the farmer cell is indirectly in front of the cell.
My father's cell is almost directly in front of my cell.
And in the other cells, mean for adjacent in the blanket of password for if I can amuda.
And the other cells adjacent to my cell, I used to pass blankets to them also. They will put out their hands and catch these blankets.
Then a blanket also for maybe 2 days, but before the morning shift come, we got the same process like a blanket or back to this prisoner.
This is how we were able to get blankets to cover ourselves during the night. But in the early hours of the morning, before the return of the morning duty officers, we do the same procedure to collect the blankets and return them to that cell where they were removed from.
But it lasted only 2 days because
Because that lasted for only 2 days. Because one of the elders there called Basansang, he was unable to catch his blanket when it was thrown to him, and the blanket fell down.
Then someone in
the morning, when the PO came and saw that blanket,
how the blanket
he asked how that blanket got to that place.
Then prisoner detention blanket
then the people at the detain there told him that they used to help each other to get blankets to cover up in the night.
So I threatened it's going to be punishment for them.
He threatened them, if that happens again, he's going to punish them. So that also stopped.
And then continue the Kalaji bear floor for during our time there.
Well, that's how we went on sleeping on the bare floor there all the time that we spent at the prison there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Touray.
Mr. Touray.
Mr. Sanneh, I'll go to you now.
Mr. Sanneh.
You told us that Ba Sang Sang was 90 years old.
Ya fo mole janko ba sansan la sanjo nyingo tembola sanji tan kononto.
Bakari Jatta was around 85.
Bakari Jaro be tar sanji tan seni lulu.
And we also got information from Mr. Touray that his father, Imam Karamo Touray, was around 75 years old.
Kibaro soto Mr. Touray bula fama memo al Karamo Touray.
How did these elderly people cope in that condition?
Nyinke bal be ngai membe fo jantol fo janteng. Nyun be yin ko nyin yen ko nyin duno nya tano nyaadi de katara o alhalo kono.
Anyway, aga munta ko ninya tela kumina fo wakili.
It's just that if you have no choice and something where you cannot do anything, you are powerless, then you have to accept the situation.
Ba Sang Sang and Bakari.
Ba Sang Sang and Bakari.
Ba Sang Sang can demand the orbiter of the brain.
Ba Sang Sang nearly went mad.
Because sudo mumaka ben diamond.
Because throughout the night he keeps on talking to himself.
Man kuke yen sorong.
I didn't do anything and they locked me up. Sometimes Bakari Jatta, who was partially blind, and he was somebody who cannot, whose hearing has a defect. His water and kemba pots, sometimes he kicks it accidentally and everything spills inside the cell there.
Imam Fanan the same thing.
Imam also the same thing, unless he removes his shirt and make it a pillow. That's what we all do. You take up your shirt and make it a pillow. The mosquitoes, you have to forget them, let them prey on you.
Thank you very much.
Barka bake.
Mr. Jaraba.
Mr. Bajerre Touray.
Can you please tell us what you had for food while you were at Malto prisons? How was the food like?
First of all, no tembo men na be nun kasi bungoto nu. Domoro me ka di alla no abenu nyaadi le. Domoro nyimbe nyaadi le.
Domoro yin. Their food is not good at all. Yes.
Why did you say the food was not good at all?
The food has no taste.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajerre. Do you know, Mr. Touray, if any of the elderly people had any health complications prior to being detained?
Most of the ikono jelba janni be mutala fo most of the ikono jelba me alan ko nyoku ni bala jara kuram mesam bala no janni wo muroba.
Hakan?
Yes.
The father was a diabetic patient at the time.
My father himself was a diabetic patient at the time.
And then elder brother my father, after the incident or immediately after the incident, was a diabetic patient.
My elder brother, who died immediately after the incident, was also a diabetic patient.
Because I remember Brimbije dinner once a day.
Because I remember when we were incarcerated, they give us food once a day.
Lundo ako pio ko diabetes lebe na mbika nyimano domo no o manyana kamano domo.
One day he told the PO that I am a diabetic patient and I shouldn't eat rice.
PO nying chief ya jajo akaye ko jamo prison de niwa domo mi wo binkidela that's on you ndolma fendo so be min dilela.
The PO ya jaju informed him that this place here is a prison. If you cannot eat it, whatever happens to you is your business.
You told us that you were only made to eat a meal once a day.
Ya fa mole janko ye ko landi nyamen albe men domo wala nyinti sinya killing domoro sinya killing tilo kono.
Can you tell us what that meal was that you only have once a day?
Fa isa fo na nyo domoro nyi mun domoro sifal nyi nyaade le kamen di alla le men domo albe men domo la tilo kono sinya killing.
Different diet lombi asake nyeti with fish stew sama dura mo silinding futo.
They used
different government diets, daily diet, different days.
Well, it's just like the daily different diets, what people eat at home, is the same thing that they also prepare.
And then ngamira Friday or Saturday lundo bijeka eka monoleke.
Like Friday or Saturday, but there is a day, that day they only make porridge.
And that meal will sustain you for the rest of the day. And at what time were you usually given this one meal?
Normally between 3 and 4.
Normally between 3 and 4, and it is always cold.
And then there was days he can some quarters by the time akita watu is 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock, what time will that's it.
Well, during the days when we had to go and attend the trial at the court, well, sometimes when we come back, it coincides with 6 p.m. or so. That's the time when we have to eat, and we find it very cold.
For how long were you detained before you were taken to court?
Okay, first of all, well, we
were arrested on Sunday in the evening.
And then, if my memory can serve me well, the Wednesday of the following week, one of the first time in some court appearance.
If I can remember properly, it was Wednesday of the following week. That was the first time we were taken to court.
Okay.
Court for like 6:30 ularo.
That court also, it was like 6:30 in the evening.
The prison magistrate court.
We were in the prison. Around 6 they came with a truck and make us board that truck and take us to Kanifing Magistrate's Court.
Thank you very much. You three have told us about the incident that happened that led to you being detained. There was a report on GRTS with respect to this particular incident. I'll just like to play it and also seek your reaction as to what they said in the report. Obi-Wan, can you please assist us in playing that segment?
The headline in the Daily Observer caught the attention of readers.
Not hearing.
Was so serious to the extent that Wajuara was said to be in coma, his whereabouts not known. He challenged the government to parade Juara and the other detainees, just like was done in the case of UDP members KK Barrow and Sambal Bojang, to prove they were not tortured. The Department of State, less than 24 hours later, decided to take on the challenge and invite the press to Central Prison's Mile 2, where those arrested are remanded. I'm standing outside the State Central Prison office here at Mile 2, where in a moment the 10 detainees will be paraded before us. Led by Lamin Wajuara, the 10 detainees are called to parade before SOS Bojang, the Inspector General of Police, and the television camera. The other detainees are Jereba Touray, Malang Khalifa Jata, Sang Sanneh, Karamo Touray, Abdoulie Sanneh, Bajerre Touray, Alfusainy Touray, Bakary Jata, and Karamo Bojang. Referring to the allegations as reported by the Daily Observer, SOS Bojang says it is both mischievous and threatening to the peace and stability of this nation. Because of the carnage in Sierra Leone and Liberia, something to avoid in the Gambia by all means. Above everything else, the Interior Secretary said it's the morality and responsibility to tell the truth no matter what.
I think every Gambian should be sincere enough to tell the truth. We are not at war. There is no political party that should be at war with another political party. They all have a legitimate right to politics. But since presidential and general elections, it is only one party, that is the United Democratic Party, that has refused to accept realities. And they are the only party that is causing trouble to everybody in this country. We don't have problems with NRP, we don't have problems with Touray, we don't have problems with anybody. So all the accusations, counter-accusations, insults at meetings, saying all sorts of things are done by the UDP.
Considering that this is the third time security officials in the country has had to parade detainees to dispel unfounded allegations of torture, Bojang's attempt to sort the matter out with the UDP has led him even into diplomacy.
And that the party leader of the UDP should behave like a potential president. If he is an opposition, he could be a president tomorrow. So you don't destroy a country that you are trying to acquire. Calling the international community, declaring this place unsafe, and calling their attention and say there is no democracy here is planned to bring about chaos, instability, fear in the hearts of people and our well-wishers. And it doesn't tell well. If there is a problem in this country, it is going to affect all of us. And I think they should be sincere enough to stop this. Let them enter into dialogue with APRC. The door is open. We can talk to each other. We can laugh. We can campaign. And then we meet in the street as brothers and sisters. But this kind of campaigning is deceiving, and it is very, very, very threatening. And if we don't take these steps to enlighten the population, a lot of things can go amiss, and people may think there is an atmosphere of insecurity which will not be conducive for the type.
Thank you very much, Obi-Wan. I think it's okay now. According to this particular segment, interpreters.
Inumbara bake Obi-Wan, thank you very much, Obi-Wan. According to this segment, nyimfana eme yitandi.
It stated that your actions were mischievous and threatening.
Ay nyina yitandi ko aliye menkenum aketa ku keja wolti andung silandir kolem.
And it linked the action with the United Democratic Party.
Andung ateye memfo ay kuonyi la United Democratic Party lekang.
Mr. Bajerre, as far as you can recall, was your actions with respect to the mosques, was it linked to any political activity?
I tell you, menke jamen to wonya kaudinkira boindi fodum an politic party dole la kolu seleta nyokambang. No, it has nothing to do with politics.
Do you know if the Imam was actively involved with the United Democratic Party?
Foya lonne banko alimamu fanning UDP party oye kule du nyote mabang.
UDP.
Yes, the Imam is a member of the UDP. Bari wo komen ali yake wonya fo party kule politic kule mbang. Yes, the Imam was a member of the UDP party.
You have been part of the congregation of the Imam.
The
sermons of the Imam at the mosques, did they touch on any political issues?
He never did that.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sanneh,
Mr. Sanneh,
as far as you can recall, with this particular incident that happened, was there any link between your group and the United Democratic Party?
United Democratic Party
No, they are far from each other.
Was there any affiliation with the United Democratic Party? That's with respect to the views of the people that were arrested.
4 aning United Democratic Party la kule nyo male bangu kasujini mole menu mutaba.
No, it has nothing to do with politics. They are all separate or different things.
What politics from the carry?
In those days, in fact, there was no political activity going on.
Yaya
had already won. Nobody has the daring mind to say anything at that time.
Mr. Sanneh?
Mr. Sanneh?
Sorry, Mr. Touray?
Mr. Touray.
Given that we have heard from the rest of your colleagues that there was no nexus between their actions and the United Democratic Party.
Mr. Alfusainy Touray ko aning United Democratic Party
Why do you think the government decided to link the two activities together?
Mune ya sabu itela mira loro mansa kunda mbenu njang wolia ngani wata pour ka ko nyinta ka sujini United Democratic Party la ka politique ka dundi ka politiko dunda ko nyin kono.
Ndela mira loro le.
Well, according to my own thinking,
the closest thing means or a political connotation sotole or a political connection sotole.
The closest thing where somebody can say that it is related to politics.
Well, like I said, court there was no, it was not a public hearing. Police and the magistrate and then the prosecution team.
Well, what I can say that we were taken to court in the evening, but at that point there were no people, only the police and other security units were present.
Then that was on a Wednesday. Then the following week, Monday.
That was on a Wednesday. Then the following week on Monday.
In Banjul High Court.
They took us to Banjul High Court.
The same charges written.
The same charges were read out to us.
Then at that High Court, I saw lawyer Usainu Dabo and lawyer Mariama Dentin.
At that High Court, I saw lawyer Usainu Dabo and lawyer Mariama Dentin
representing us.
They were the people who represented us.
So, political connection
if one can point at any political connection, then it might be that.
But before Imam arrest.
But before the arrest of the Imam.
The Imam summoned the Wallahi gathering address. Me along religious affairs, my politics involved.
I have never seen or heard the Imam address a crowd or in his sermons where he said anything about politics or concerning about political affairs. I've never heard it or seen it.
And then he has been Imam for 40 years.
And he was Imam for 40 years.
So I didn't know, okay.
He never did that.
So.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sanneh.
Mr. Sanneh.
We have heard from Mr. Baji in that report.
Mr. Baji report on into ayafuko.
What is your reaction to what he said there?
Itela muna muitela jabiroti ay memfoje.
The minister, huh?
Are you referring to the minister? Yes.
What the minister said was not true. He didn't say anything with an iota of truth in it.
Why do you think why do you think the High Park decided to dishonor the Imam's condition by constructing a pillar at that particular place?
Tila mira loro mune ya sabu kafoni kafme High Park mune ya sabu imanson na ka imamo nyin na kangonyi muta kabula amu imamo nyin yamaro noma itentenda ikata dula dingira nyin amamo ko ikana dame dolo itentenda ikata itara jelo
maybe meta nyin wala so master no ya lon ko ne odula ma ya provoke abere akla wala ne yake.
Maybe they have been hunting for the Imam for quite some time and they were unable to lay hands on him. Then this is why, after he gave them those instructions to be able to get him, they decided to disregard what he told them and they decided to put pillars there so that they knew whatever happens if he reacts against them, they will be able to handle him. Because during Yaya's days, nobody can establish the truth. When this was even happening, he was not aware of it. They called him at night and told him.
Kaba Bajo be on the ground.
Kabab Bajo was the person on the ground.
Thank you very much.
Abarka bake.
Going back to your detention,
Sila ngamuru ko mapurila muraro na fanala.
Mr. Bajerre, can you recall for how many days you were detained at Mile 2?
Bajerre foi sa fono nya tili jellel si ibe maraloto kasibungoto.
22 days.
Mr. Touray, you told us that you were charged before a court.
Mr. Touray ya famole janko ye tumi ye samba kitio nyati lingola.
Can you tell us about those charges?
Foisi o tumi role mende ikangoda foisi kuma fonye ila kuoto ba.
He was not the only one accused.
Gavin volong ye charge ndamade de dol mo tango biri arrest.
It was not only me. After the 10 of us were arrested.
Yes, I'm talking about collectively as a group.
Akawala fa ko altul be ni albe kafunyoma. Alla kafo be abe wala.
I remember in charge me na wolo mi ko nga jabe ngole boy. The first charge, then the second charge ko conspiracy to commit a crime or an unrest. I don't remember the charges right now, but I got 2 charges. One was was a conspiracy to commit that crime.
Well, there were 2 charges. The first one was they charged us for bringing down a mosque. The second one was for a conspiracy to commit that crime.
I have here an Amnesty International report.
Report do babulu jamme ko about Amnesty International
On the Gambia dated the 1st of June 2000.
Gambia report ni pour Gambia dati June karotili follow 2000
and they reported on the Brikama Mox trial.
And we report of indi je menketa Brikama ki jamambala report la kodi.
The report states as follows.
Report ni men fo wala nyinti ko.
And it's on page 3 of the report, Mr. Chairman.
And report lera fulan jangore ni la borawolto.
In February
Karo,
the 4 remaining defendants charged in June 1998
mo mutare nanol mi alon ko ye muta ye tumiro melle kan June Karo kono 2009 1998 sango kono
with conspiracy to commit riot
andu ye tumi men wala nyide ko kafuta da malu lafta ku kala me alon ko lafta abe fitino wulinde lale
and damage to a building in the town of Brikama were acquitted.
Andu ye tinyaro ke bungola andu inata ne bula.
Originally they were held incommunicado. 10 prisoners of conscience. Including members of the United Democratic Party and the Imam of Brikama, Alaji Karamo Touray. The arrests were in connection with alleged attempt to destroy a wall being erected around the mosque. Reportedly by a pro-government youth group trying to prevent the imam from speaking about political issues. At least one of the detainees was allegedly tortured while in custody. And after almost 9 months of trial, the presiding magistrate discharged the defendants. I've just read to you the extract of a report. And in this report as well, there seemed to be a political connotation as to the incident that happened.
mulunda nyina ko politiko nyina ko ba ko nyin kono le dunda kono le ye ko me ya fanyame.
Was that the general perception at the time you were arrested, that it was linked with politics?
Fo hani tembo men nay bal muda la tembo men fo wala mu miro nyindi sondo mo miro nyindi no ko politiko ba ko nyin kono le ba.
Hakan mo jama e o mirale.
Yes, a lot of people thought that this is politically motivated.
Paski imam onyen.
Because the imam.
I remember before all these incidents.
I can remember that before all these things happened.
Like I said, Brikama town elders.
Like I said, Brikama's elders of the town.
There was this consultative committee around the town with regards to the new constitution and in the timetable for the new government.
There was a committee, a consultative committee in Brikama who went round talking to people about the constitution.
At the meeting.
When they came to Brikama at a meeting.
I remember my father was one of the speakers there, breeding Sate Kebal Benta.
I remember my father was one of the speakers when they met the elders of Brikama.
But I tell her position was.
But his position was.
New constitution mean consultative committee be nyin diamo mean atela diamo was pro the election immediately new government take over.
Well, what they were talking about, the consultative committee's stand was that they were talking to people, but my father's intention was an election should be held immediately and the new government should take over the country.
At that time, I think some of the council of elders had difference there.
And I knew that at that time, he had some difference with some members of the council, so the elders who were among the council.
So at that time already your father was perceived as an opposition?
Amunta wato la ifama ya chori la ko atamu opposition old.
Exactly, because I remember at the same time
Yes, exactly, because I remember I was also working at the same time with the NIA.
One particular night that was overnight.
One particular night I went to work.
Somanda drong ye termination letter dinner.
Just in the morning I was handed a termination letter.
Then my unit head at that time was 113 Baji.
My unit head at that time was 13 Baji.
I am commandant office.
He called me into his office.
Akonye ko ila warrant card play.
He asked me about my warrant card.
Nga bondi akonye ko yalo ne ko ye terminate.
I took it out and he told me, you know that you have been terminated.
Ataraman na emblem ko ile folo ko mineketa akonye ko malon de bari ngalon ne it has something to do with your father. The thing is all about Brikama. I have
Well, when I asked him about what the reason, he told me, well, I don't know about the incident, but the whole thing is related to your father in Brikama because the whole thing is.
This was in 96. What about the incident man follow?
This was in 96, just before the incident happened.
No time or incident man follow.
The incident hadn't taken place at that time.
And
when I came home, I told my father that I was given a termination letter that day.
Surprised.
He told me that I am not surprised about that.
So during that time, your father had strong opinions about the government, correct?
Kabro wato la ifama we miro soto ni mira jawo jina sifa soto ni masa kunda enen.
Well, malo ay mo mira sifa soto bari ngalo ne wo consultative meeting o consultative committee yake throughout the country.
I knew at that time I don't know what was my father's what was his stance or opinion, but I knew that consultative committee which was going around the country, I knew the difference he had with them.
At the position was like they said, yeah, change of government, election, a new government will come in, and then the soldiers will go back to barracks.
His opinion was that a change of government has taken place, but the soldiers should go back to barracks, and an election should be held for a new government to take over the country. That was my father's opinion.
And this consultative meeting you're referring to happened before 1996, correct?
Yeah, in consultation, I menna kumo fotanga. Kumo da sorota janin 1996 fotonya lemba.
Yeah, I think I don't know for 1996 or not before, because Akuma started being some months later they all set up, and then even before the referendum, and the referendum was 96.
Yes.
So yes, I get 96.
This happened in 96 because I can remember that the takeover happened in 1994. But this committee was formed just after the takeover, and they started going round. So I can remember that it was in the year 1996.
And because of that, your father was perceived as an opposition, correct?
Amunda wokandam inata ne fama ya yin hakilo sotoko yin soto mo sotoko opposition olem for kotonyale.
I can say yes to that.
Yeah, I can say yes to that.
Thank you very much. And as a result of that, do you think what happened at the mosque, is it related to, do you think if it is related to what happened during the consultative meeting?
For amunda ite ila londoro fo ila mira loro menketa jamo to je for sujita ne menketa consultation meeting on yinto ba.
Yes, it be connected.
Yes,
they are all related.
I say that I can say that they are all connected or related.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajerre.
Sir, Mr. Bajerre.
My apologies for keeping you for till this time of the day. I'm sure you must be really tired by now. So I'll move faster so that we can be done with the evidence. Can you tell us what the impact of your detention was on you?
Yes, it caused difficulties for me. Because right now I cannot do any work. Nowadays I am just sitting down. I'm not doing anything. It's because of this problem.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bajerre. Mr. Sanneh, now I'll go to you.
Mr. Abdoulie Sanneh.
You told us that it affected the elders in the group greatly. Can you tell us what the impact was on you personally?
Mr. Abdoulie Sanneh, for it fango isa fono mola emu nyimkung nyimutaro emu kolea kule sabu ite fangoma ijato.
Anyway, the difficulties it caused for me. One, when I left that place, within a short time, I went for a checkup. I discovered that I had diabetes.
I lose my job.
Yes,
2004.
And that's, since 2004, I lost my job. The land that I have, my own land, was taken from me. I wrote letters to many places, but I cannot recover my lands. Since 2004, up to this time, I'm just sitting down.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sanneh.
Mr. Sanneh.
Mr. Touray.
Mr. Touray.
Can you tell us what eventually led to your release? Just before we go to the impact.
Like I said, Monday, the first Monday, that is a week after, and that is no court.
Well, how I was released was that a week after we went to court.
In charging crime land, we are not guilty.
They charged us with these crimes, as I stated, but we all said we are not guilty.
Then Murundi back prison.
They took us back to the prison.
Then the following Monday,
The following Monday again, we were arraigned again. In
the same thing, in charge crimes or charges or reading guilty.
In same thing again, the crimes, the charges were read to us, and we said no, we are not guilty.
Then he go that who pointed to magistrate owning defense team in your Sabari, he go back to Canifing court.
Then at that point, there was an argument between the prosecution and our magistrate and our lawyers. They said we should go back to Canifing court.
Then that Canifing court, it's all jurisdiction.
We went to Canifing court, but they said it is not under their jurisdiction.
Then you moved in mile 2, then the following Monday.
We were taken back to mile 2, and the following Monday,
which was on the 8th, we moved back to High Court again.
Which was on the 8th, and we were taken back to the High Court again.
Then that day we were granted bail.
And that day we were granted a bail.
Was that because they told us that you've told us that you've been in detention for 22 days?
Yeah, for mole janko altalta Morocco no for sa tili muanga ni mfula.
So after you were granted bail,
biri ye bail di alla.
What happened to the case?
Mune narana ke case nyina.
Biri am bail wolungo then one timeline or keep baringalo subsequently ngata munda banjule ko rek ko say mbitala birkama because crime committed also.
Well, I cannot give a time span, but after we were released, we used to go to report in Banjul. Then they later all told us that the crime was committed in Brikama. That's where we are going to return to.
So Brikama je ngata back and forth. Nintala be hearing mention witness walmana or the prosecuting team mampare. Then another date set again. We were back and forth for some time in 2000. There was this magistrate, Dabo. What was his first name? Lamin Dabo.
Well, that's how things went on. When we returned to the Brikama Magistrate Court, there were a series of adjournments of the case. We were going back and forth until 2000, a lawyer called Lamin Dabo came onto the scene.
Magistrate
Lamin Dabo came onto the scene.
I think the first time we mentioned the case, the first time he took the case, I remember he asked the defense team whether they're ready to proceed with the case. The defense said they was ready, and then the prosecution man time also back. Then another adjournment do he just discharged the case. He dismissed the case. He said there was no case to answer.
So that's how we were going back and forth until one day we went to the courthouse and we were informed that the prosecution was still not ready. So we had to wait for another day. The case was adjourned again. But after that last adjournment, when we returned back, that was the day when the magistrate Lamin Dabo decided to discharge the case and stop it there.
So then the state appealed.
When that happened, the state appealed.
Then we went back to court.
We went back to court.
Then Fonte and 5 other people go until we are discharged from the case. Then Abdoulie and this brother and farmer and Lamin Wajuara and one of the late accused persons who father signed. Hold the Mali case to the side until discharged from the case. Then they continue with the other 5. Then
when we came back again, one day the 5 of us were acquitted, himself and some others were acquitted and they were told that you have been acquitted out of this case. But the other 5 remained there. That was his father, Abdoulie, and the others who were arrested. So the case went on with those people.
Thank you very much. And what eventually happened to that case?
Well, for now, we are going to court.
They were also going to court. When a day is chosen, they will go to the court.
For one day in November, I remember.
Till one day in November, as I can remember.
I don't know, for me, the farmers told them, for people told them, the president came to Brikama and had a rally there.
One day, I don't know whether it was People's Store or Farmer's Store, when the president came to Brikama and held a rally there.
orally dula when he was giving his speech.
At that rally, when he was giving a speech,
At the end of his speech, he called on the name of the chief of Brikama.
at the end of his speech, he said he called on the name of the chief of Brikama. I remember he used to say that people from the Bojankunda clan are his uncles.
Then, I was speech, at the end of the speech, I will command the Bojankunda by their name, the chief and his people.
And so at the end of his speech that day, he called them by name like the Bojankunda clan and the chief and his people. He told them that if you don't go and return the Imam's key to him,
because if you can recall, since this happened, the Imam has not been allowed to lead prayers again.
Because when this thing happened, they stopped the Imam from leading prayers in that mosque.
So when the president made that declaration,
when he made that declaration that day at that rally, saying that if you don't return the Imam his key,
it's like I ultimatum did. Nalma say nala. That's where he ended.
Well, he just gave them an ultimatum, saying that if you don't return the key, then he stopped there.
Do you think that statement was genuine?
For it la miralo kuma kawning al president wa memfo kuma kanede mi alon ko asa hayata le bang
ani
no
why
mane o sabu yo mira
because sign president ka statement mean the look like ate is out of the thing ate ka from exonerate le safe or nala mol or the chief nala mol will responsible da problem wala and wolman almamo nala mol ala dimba nala mol arrest no.
Well, it looks like he was trying to clear himself from the case to exonerate himself. So he was trying to put the blame on the chief and his people.
So to me, it wasn't a genuine statement.
And that's why I said to me it is not a genuine statement.
Thank you. Mr. Bajerre.
Abaraka bake, silam mita Mr. Bajerre ya.
Mr. Bajerre, who do you hold responsible for your detention at Mile 2 prisons for 22 days?
Mr. Bajerre, ite la mira loto, anila kun ila jo ya miro, ite ya mira jumale be ite jumale jalaila, ila marota ye sama menna kasi bungo ye maraje tilimuang anim fula, ibe odeto kono, ite be jumale jalaila wala.
Mimi jalaila wala.
Ibe jalaila wala jumale kang.
Hai parking kul ini la kebalu marang ay dawul demo santa wul lolu jalaila.
I will put the blame on the Hyde Park people and their leaders, Malang Aida Bojang and Dembo Santam Bojang and the other leaders of the group.
Do you think the government was responsible in any way for what happened to you?
For it ila mira ro kotanke for ila ya mira fana ko mansa kunda o tembo jamano la for ifana e bulo sota ko nyin kono le ba
Ako mansa kunda bulo ba kono.
Yes, the government is involved.
And how were they involved in this?
mansa kunda ni e bulo sota je nyaadi le ila miro ro
Na miro.
ha mansa kunda e bulo sota je nyaadi le
Ko dole be itele be uniform.
Well, they are the people behind the Hyde Park group and others.
Naja Hyde Park be feng wakilla nyina. Be jigiri tolle.
The reason why Hyde Park has the daring mind to do this, they were hoping on the government.
Thank you very much.
baraka bake
Mr. Sanneh,
Mr. Sanneh
as far as you can recall,
me hekilo sa mutano
do you know if the government had any hand in what happened to you?
fo ila londo fo isa londo le bang men ketela fo mansa kunda e bulo sota ko nyin kono le bang
Ha ya story kubuga ka gambe ya na molma min kalamta.
Yeah, they are highly involved because nothing happens here at that time.
And do you,
Yaya Jammeh and his people doesn't know.
my apologies, do you think the charges levied against you
fo ila mira lo tumiro la e men den ikangoda
and the fact that you were detained for 22 days?
To comment to nyalem ye muta yesindi dula kelem fo tilimwa ngani fula.
Do you think it was justified?
Fo ila mira lo fo to nya sabati ta jela ba.
Well, it was not legal at all. There's nothing truthful in it. I just took it as a witch hunting.
Thank you very much. We've already dealt with the impact on you and Mr. Bajerre. Mr. Touray, given that your father was also part of the people that were arrested,
Mr. Touray
your brother and yourself, what was the impact on both your father, your brother, and the rest of your family?
I
impact means
it had a big impact on us. Because the impact it had on my father alone is a part of its own.
Imagine community be a spiritual leader.
Imagine a spiritual leader for a large community. You come and catch that man and lock him up.
And then he don't have chance to defend.
And he was not given the chance to defend himself.
And then thinking for a Gambia Jandola society
and thinking in the Gambian society how they look at imprisonment.
So you are in prison as a criminal.
They imprison you just as a criminal.
And you happen to be a family leader and a community leader and a religious leader.
And you happen to be a family leader, a community leader, and a religious
leader. Impact
that has a very big impact.
And then for the following 2 years or more.
For the following 2 years or more,
Brikama was divided on all lines and including religious lines.
Brikama became divided on all lines, even religious lines.
Because during the time Imam was incarcerated and banned from leading the prayers at the mosque.
And during the time the Imam was incarcerated and he was under the ban to lead prayers at the mosque,
there is a large section of the community.
There was a large community of the. There was a large section of the community who don't go to the mosque to pray. It has an impact on those people's prayers.
Not to mention until as a family until impact nyame.
Not to mention the family members, the type of impact it had on them.
When they personally, I was in jail. Me selo kono nyame family across the aisle. Abe sel do kono.
Well, just think, I was in a cell, seeing my father across in another cell. We were facing each other.
Among any hygienic. A big have to take care of hygienic. A boral baby growing, a be sabiring, a the same way. And the is woman problem, but any okay looking at them like that.
The condition my father was in, he was there like that, looking shabby, with all his hairs overgrown, and in that condition, really to look at him was very bad.
For 3 weeks, what time? It was just about to be summer. The place was hot.
For 3 weeks, it was around summer, and the place was very, very hot.
Coming from there again, and saying, for example, I remember immediately after that, the following Ramadan.
And after that, how things went on the following Ramadan.
I don't know where the rumor come from, but somebody somewhere called Imam Laftaka separate Salindiro lead in town.
Well, I don't know where the rumor came from, but this rumor went around that the Imam wanted to start a separate praying area or praying ground different from the mosque.
The day of Ramadan, allowed to ply that street that day.
We woke up early in the morning, the day of Ramadan, and the paramilitaries were everywhere. Every place was blocked.
Imagine people were supposed to be joyfully enjoy.
Remember the day of Eid prayers, people were supposed to be jubilant.
Our gate was barricaded by soldiers.
But their compound gate was barricaded by military officers from the early hours of the morning till in the evening.
And then subsequently those 2 years.
And those two prayers for those 2 years.
Paramilitary kanalo jele salungo thinking that go more bina gada imam ya to run a separate prayer ground.
This is what they do for those 2 years. Every Eid prayers, they come and barricade our compound gates, thinking that a group of people were coming to pray behind my father.
And then walk on a brother me alonko who was detained with me.
And during that time, my brother who was detained with me,
after he was diabetic.
He was diabetic.
From the prison, administered Dr. Sisela clinic or
From when he was in prison, he missed to go to the clinic because he used to go to Dr. Sisela's clinic.
No, from the prison, some Dr. Sisela clinic.
Okay, from the prison, he was taken to Dr. Sisela's clinic.
And he never came home, far.
He never came home until he died.
So the impact is just too much in the family.
The impact was too much on my family.
Thank you very much, Mr. Touray.
Barakabake, Mr. Touray.
Mr. Sanneh, can you please tell us about the impact on some of the most elderly people in the group, Basansang and Bakari Jata?
Mr. Sanneh, for if I fono mole, Ninkung, I am Kola Kulel Nati, Nimo, Ning Alpha Mola, Ning Basansang, and Basansang Ning Bakari Jata, I am Kola Kulel Sabining Alpha Fulu.
Impact means Sambeka.
The impact it had on them.
These
two elders, when they were released, they were in poor health.
Imam, wala diabetes
his diabetes became worse.
Twice he amputated.
He was amputated on 2 occasions.
And the second one, the
second one was the reason for his death.
He
went all the way to America for treatment. He came back. It attacked him again. He was taken to the hospital.
He was amputated for the second time.
He was amputated. His leg was amputated for the second time. He cannot survive, and he died. The reason why I called his name, he's my father. He is from the same mother and father with my mother.
Can you continue,
Yes,
Mr.
I can
Sanneh?
continue. Basansang, I volunteer last suitioti.
He is the yard owner. He became sick until the day he passed away.
Bakari Jata,
he is deaf and he is partially blind. He also became sick until he died.
Malang Khalifa,
that was the year he was operated.
I diabetes fata.
He had diabetes and he also died.
Bajerre, diabetes
he also suffered from diabetes and his leg was seriously. He also died.
Can you please assist us with the time frame within which they died after they were released?
For isa fono nye watol mi ay ñu wati jellel ta biri ya ye bula kasu bungoto aka wati jellel ta janni be banna.
Bajerre ota from the prison to Dr. Sise Obanta.
Bajerre, as for him, he just from the prison to Dr. Sise, he died.
Imam wona ta struggle tale. Anata struggled for 19.
Imam came and
2010.
He struggled until 2010.
And the second amputation,
He died after his second amputation.
What of Basansang?
Basansang, I cannot remember.
I cannot remember the day he died, but I think he died. He even died before the Imam.
What of Bakari Jata?
Bakari Jata from Fatari.
Bakari
Before
Jata
the Imam.
also died before the Imam.
This incident must have been really horrific for you.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you for coming to the TRRC to share your story.
Al-Nimbara Purkana TRRC Kalakumo Satajang.
As a nation, we apologize for what happened to you.
Ko Gambia mu bankuleti bitum bankoto ya lambal danila mbale hake danila alsali haketu menketalla.
We appreciate that you decided to come to the TRRC to share your story.
Nyinketanyen sewote alisonta purkana asata TRRC nyatilimula menketalla.
That will be all from me.
Sainte bedanna janne.
Mr. Chairman, I'll hand over the witnesses to you now.
Sai Mr. Chairman Sedolu Fele.
Thank you very much, Emma Council. And thank you, Mr. Touray, Mr. Sanneh, and Mr. Touray.
And Mr. Touray, Albe Al Nimbara.
We share your pain. The suffering that you guys went through with your families. You should not have gone through that at all, under any circumstance. And that burden was put on you by agents of the state. A state that had the sacred duty to protect the citizens. You were individuals who did nothing to deserve what you went through. Absolutely nothing. Truly sorry about what the state imposed on you guys. Commissioners, if you have any questions, please indicate. None. If you have any closing remarks to make, please proceed to do so.
Chairman Yesilo Dialla, Bumondi Kumasoto, Elafta Men Satala Banco Molie, Alfanal Siofu.
Can you proceed as in the order? Start with Mr. Touray first.
Go between Mr. Touray, si follow it later, Asata, ya follow.
Anyway, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
Now Mr. Sanneh is saying, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, thanks to Allah.
My thanks
to Allah and His holy prophet who gave me life up to this day. Today I am witnessing. I'm extending my sincerest thanks to the TRRC. You are now doing a very difficult job. Because to establish the truth is very difficult. Since you started this, we have to follow you every day. And we learn a lot of things out of it. But me, what I can tell the Gambian people, politics. We see it as
an interest.
It's an interest. If you are in another party, try by all means the peace or benefits that you are going to gain out of that party. Whether it's a working place, you take it to your region and share it amongst the people, so that you can all have a very good living. But talking about people, individuals, so and so is like this. Every person, wherever party you belong to, it is your liking to belong to a party. It is not a crime for anybody to support any party. If you want people, you have to talk to people peacefully and try to cajole people to come and join you. But to follow each other in politics, it has no use. We are all from the same mother and father in this land. When a president leaves, another one comes. If you all had long life to live, you are the people together.
So
So one should try by all means. Whatever will breed trouble, it's in that politics. Let's try to forget that and love one another and try to treat each other well. After that, my advice is going to the security people of the country. You should treat us all as one.
Government in power
whether it's the government in power,
opposition
whether it's an opposition,
treat them fairly.
Treat everybody fairly. Try to show them all the path of the law. Whether they have a problem, when they come. If you cannot try to play impartiality between them,
a balance.
Try to balance it. What the law says, just take that path. Let's stop the idea of so and so is an opposition member. This man supports the government of the day.
Another report here.
He came to report here.
Another
and you happen, somebody with the truth, you happen to take the truth from the truthful person and give it to somebody else who doesn't have the truth and afterwards maltreat him upon that. All what passed that we encountered, all those who were involved, they are all from the same mother and father.
Outside the family.
They are not out of the family. They are all indigenous of Brikama. Their siblings are there and they cannot even acquire, they cannot even get good jobs. I think if you support a party, that government of the day, try to have a good time with them. Let them try to open avenues for the young people where they can walk. That's what's better. Rather than breeding hatred for each other. If that person dies, you come and regret for what you have done. What I am appealing to the people for, let's try and let's try and remove our relationship, our family relationships from politics. When it is time for politics, the party you support, go to that party, do what you want for them. If you come to your town or village, forget about politics. I'm still again thanking TRRC
because
so this day today I saw myself in it as a surprise. So because of that I extend my sincerest thanks to Allah again. Yes, that's where I'm stopping.
Thank you, Mr. Sanneh. Mr. Alfusainy Touray.
Inumbara Mr. Sanneh saying Alfusainy Touray.
Follow mfanabe ala tendula mbaja ila puro aisi Miami kenye fo mabeta bitilola.
First of all, I'll extend my sincerest thanks to Allah for giving me life to be able to witness this day today.
Mina kuma fola jangalo le witness dolia folenu
Whatever I'm going to say here, I know other witnesses have already uttered those statements before. But it's something that we have to remind each other. We are all equal in this Gambia.
Like we said, politicians all kanale kata.
Just as you said, politicians come and go. But the country remains. If you hear a country, it is the people who live in that country. So all of us, the people, we should know that we are all one. What passed here, what we are from, we all know how it was. What I am going to emphasize here,
new government ko reforms into power.
That this new government should carry out reforms when they came into power.
Or reforms continue, especially the security sector.
Let them continue with those reforms, especially the security sector. Because politics is just politics, it will remain politics. But politics cannot go along without the security. If the security people are politicized, there will be no peace in the country. Because they will not carry out their duties accordingly. Let's try and teach each other. We remind each other. Because the majority of us here, the government doesn't pay our bills for us. Even those working in the government, their salaries are not even able to complete their daily fish money. We do our things by ourselves and we help each other because of our relationships. So because if that is the way, politics shouldn't separate us so that we'll become enemies to each other and hate each other.
Sense make because
it doesn't make sense for me to fight with Abdoulie because we want to make Omar the president. When Omar becomes the president, it will have no use for me and Abdoulie will not have any use in it.
So
that should teach us that politics is something which we should all try to understand and try to do things accordingly. And our politicians also should be truthful people who will stand and tell their people the truth.
TRRC chairman commission members
apart from that, from the chairman of the TRRC to all the commissioners, my thanks to all of you. That's what I can say here now. Wassalam, thanks to God.
Thank you very much indeed, the three Brikamankol.
Brikamankolo ala barkabake al Musabulu.
We will end our proceedings. There's some procedural issue. Yes, please go ahead,
sorry,
Counsel.
Mr. Chair. We would like to tender in evidence before we finish this session the video that was showed, which was the documentary and the news from JRTS, and also a news article by Amnesty International report for 2000, The Gambia. We would like to tender them, and it will be Exhibit 111A and B. A would be to the video, and B would be to the report, the article. Thank you.
Request granted. If there is a further procedural matter, we will end our proceedings for today and resume Monday morning sharp 10 o'clock. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.